Hello there, Khalid Al Malawani here. Today we will be introducing and operating the ELEGOO BT16, which is actually a DX BT16A device. If you do have the ELEGOO car kit, you might be aware that the ELEGOO BT16 is claimed by the ELEGOO company and only works using their app. However, there is a solution to it, especially if you want to see any serial communication to be able to operate with it using another serial app. There is an app available for both iOS and Android. I'm going to show the how to operate using the Android version of the app, as I do not own an iOS device. However, there is instructions currently available that will be in the description video for all I'm going to show today, as well as the iOS version will be uploaded soon. So let's get started then. First thing we need to note, as usual, is just look at the data sheet. So if we look at the data sheet here for the ELEGOO BT16, we can see that here is the BT16 here that doesn't have any header pins, but that's fine. And if we just look here, operates about 3.3 volts. There is a circuit breaker implemented that allows you to operate it at 5 volts, but it is not recommended. The Arduino Uno and the Arduino Mega both provide 3.3 volts, so use that. But the important thing I want to mention here is the add commands. The add commands are a few commands that implemented by the firmware that allows you to either get some data or even set some of the parameters of the ELEGOO BT16. So in this case here, there is not too many. There is one where you can just look at the software version, of the ELEGOO BT16 here. There is one add command where you can look at the name as well, set the name of the ELEGOO BT16. What that changes is when you see it in your Bluetooth list here, you will see it by a different name. The default name is ELEGOO BT16 or BT16. So you can just see a different name for that. Now, something to mention here is that if you do actually connect this to your board and check your Bluetooth terminal or the Bluetooth settings here, you will see the ELEGOO BT16, which I can show you. So if I plug this in here and open my Bluetooth settings and look for a Bluetooth device here, I do see the ELEGOO BT16. It's right here. However, if I try and click on it, it will light up on the board for a second, but then it would say couldn't connect, try connecting again. That is because the ELEGOO BT16 operates under it does not use Bluetooth Classic. Bluetooth Classic protocol is something like my headphones here. The headphones are implemented through just a normal Bluetooth Classics. That means that if it is connected by Bluetooth, I can just connect it by any device. However, this one here uses a different style, a different operation for the protocol, which consumes less power, but does not allow it to be easily implemented just using the normal Bluetooth connection here. You can see it, however, you cannot connect it. So this is what's worth mentioning here is the app name. We'll just change it on the list. And then there's two more here. There's the baud rate, which is quite important. I'll get back to it in a sec here. And then there is the software restart. The software restart is just if there is any issues, you can just restart it using a command here. But usually if you just unplug power from the board, it does a hardware restart. Anyways, so going back to the baud rate here, the baud rate are set based on different default values. Now the names on the data, the numbers on the data sheets are off. They're actually incremented by one. So the 9600 is actually at baud rate 0. This 19200 is at baud rate 1, and so on, 2, 3, and 4. Only the default is set properly. That is okay. Now, if there is a few example here about how to set the baud rate, and that is exactly what we're going to do. Because if you recall from the MPU 650, for example, a proper broad baud rate that will not really impact the operation, especially for the sampling rate, will be 38400. Now, the default setting for the For the ELEGOO BT16, as mentioned here, is 9600. We just want to change the command here to we just want to change the command here to a different baud rate, just so we're able to use it, especially for any wire communication, especially the MPU 6050, without any lag, without any issues. Having said that, let's get to the code right away. So if we go to our BT add commands code, what this code is, it's quite simple. What code does is using the software serial library, it will just create another software serial. That means usually you have a default serial in your Arduino. In the Mega and the Uno, they're both pin 0 and 1. You can create another serial where you can send data to it. The only catch is you can only do one thing at a time. So that means that you cannot have two simultaneous write, for example. You need to have a serial write, then a read, but the different, so if one reads, the other will write, and if one write, the other will read. As such, if you want to do any simultaneous operation, you have to use another library known as alt software. I will not get to it, but it is possible if you want to do it. Now, something else to mention is that you could actually use a software serial in your codes to not have to keep, so you don't have to keep removing the BT16 module each time you're uploading code, because recall that the Bluetooth module here, when it's connected to your shield, it's actually connected to pin 0 and 1. That means it is making the ports busy. And if the ports are busy, you cannot upload code to it. Okay, so you could use software serial for it. Now, however, I do not recommend it, as I will show you the connection, how it looks like if we do implement the software serial in just a few seconds here. And it is not the most stable connection. Now, having mentioned that, let's get to it. So based on our pinout here, we can see that the RXD of the BT16 module, which would be the first one on the right here, is just connected to pin 50, and I will do that. And then connecting the next one here, the EXD to pin 51. And both of these are connected right here. And then of course, ground, connect our ground and power to, of course, the proper terminals. Almost done connection here, just connecting power now. If you have everything corrected properly, it will look something like this here, as you can see in the camera. So it looks something like this. As you can see, it's not the most stable. It's kind of, moving all over the place, but it is possible to implement it and it will work. Anyways, that is how we need to implement this. Now, because as I mentioned, again, is that the BT16 is not connected to pin 0 and 1 again, I can just upload code while it's still connected to the board here. And as you can see, there is no issues. I can open the serial monitor now. And then this is what we have first. We enter the add command. Now, the add commands all start with add. You add the plus sign, and then you add whatever you want. Let's first check that it's connected here. So we have, if we select add plus name, it does not display anything. Now I did that on purpose. That means there is an incorrect um, connection here. To be able to make sure that it is the proper connection, you just go back to your board here and make sure that you plugged in everything where your pin out said it was going to be. And checking once more the connections, and they do seem correct. So now we can might as well just upload the code one more time. And just open the serial communication here and go add plus name. Oh, just making sure I typed everything correctly. Oh, and now it is here. So we have the name here, just shown, so that means that it is correct. As you can see, the default is ELEGOO BT16. Just for the sake of practice here, we can change the name. Now, do not do the mistake of adding an equal sign because that will actually implement the name. So if I do that, for example, and implement the an equal sign, you will, and we redisplay the name, you will see that there is an extra equal sign here. That is because it now added the equal sign as part of the name. So what you need to do is after you write your command, you can just type in the name right away, and it will work without any issues. Now I'll just keep it to the same the default here. And if I just display the name again, it should be the same as the default. Now, what I need to do here is I want to change the baud rate to 38400. Now, recall from the data sheet here that that is at default number 2. If we just look at the example here, actually, they do have it the correct way at 2. Now, there is 2 symbols here, /r, /n. Now, those are the first one is the carriage return, and second one is a new line. So that means that if I implement this, I need to make sure that everything I send needs these two here. Now to do that, you actually need to check that these two here are both new line and carriage return. If you have a no line ending and you try and send this, it will not work as you can see. Unless you actually type the whole thing. Then it depends on how it is read. In a lot of serial communication, it removes the any carriage returns. In this case, it does not work. So you have to make sure that you do implement it by yourself. So you need to go both new line and carriage return. You can plus this, and you go at plus name again, and you will see it works. Okay, so we have that, and then we can go at plus and change the baud to 2, and it will say okay. Now notice that when we uploaded our code here, we set the baud rate of the software serial, which was defined right here. We set the software at the baud rate, which we said is 9600. That means that, but we now change the baud rates. That means that if we go here and we go app plus name, it will still work. And the only reason it will still work is because we did not end the session. Now, if I close this and reopen it, it depends on if it has everything still saved or not. It's basically based on your luck. In this case, it is. So if I close this, and actually what I can do here is just unplug it and then plug it back in. So we'll unplug the USB and plug it back in. If I open the serial, you will see here that if I type add plus name, it stops working, right? And that is because the microcontroller does not have its saved future anymore. So it does not know that the baud rate changed basically. So what you need to do is basically you have to remember what the baud rate was on the BLE. If you did forget, then pretty much test all of the default ones. In this case, here, if we go back to our data sheet, we can remember that we change it to 38400. So if we change this to 38400 and we re-upload the code, remember that there's no issues with re-uploading even though the BLE is connected because it's on different serial. And it is completed. We can go like this and type in add plus name, and you will see that it's there. This is also a nice way to check that the baud rate is set properly. So this is what we have here. Now to test it, we can actually send in another code, but before we do that, we need to set up our app first. Now, I did create a document here that has the instructions for the Android, to set up the app. Now, if you do have an Android device, the app is just called Serial Bluetooth Terminal. There is a link here, which if you have access to PDF, which will be in the description, you can just click on it. There's a small description of why it does not, the DXBT16 does not work. Anyways, and for the Blue Term, there is for the iOS, there is also another app known as Blue Term Serial Terminal, which will work. Now, I have not tested it. However, there is also a Windows or Macintosh. You could try and use an Android emulator. However, BlueStacks does work, but it does not provide Bluetooth simulation. So it does work in terms of actually testing the app, and making sure that everything is correct. However, you cannot connect to it because it does not have the Bluetooth, the BlueStacks itself did not implement a Bluetooth or does not connect to Bluetooth um, connection of your computer. So the one I'll be showing today is for the Android, and to do that, I will be just sharing the screen on my mobile device here. So if I just start sharing, and we can see here, this is the Bluetooth terminal app, which is right in the center of the screen here. So the Serial Bluetooth app as well will allow us to communicate to the Bluetooth terminal. First of all, let's set it up. So we just go on the app here. This is the first thing you'll see. Now you can follow along using the Bluetooth serial terminal instruction sheet that is available in the description. But what you do next here is we open the serial Bluetooth app, we press on the sandwich icon here, and we go on devices. Now you will see that yours is on Bluetooth Classic. All we need to do here is select Bluetooth LE, and remember that is the difference between the two different properties or protocols of the Bluetooth here. Usually, the usual ones that you can easily connect to will be the Bluetooth Classic. The one we're trying to implement to is the Bluetooth LE. And then after we do that, we go and type on scan. If you don't see ELEGOO BT16, but just for the sake of practice here, we can just go on scan. ELEGOO BT16, as it's the closest device to my phone, will usually be on top of the list. If you're further back, will be a bit down, so you can just scroll. You will be prompted for a location permission. Just tap on OK if you see that. So if you do this location permission, just tap on OK. Now what we're doing here is just long hold the the ELEGOO BT16 here, and then we can go on edit. And then what we need to do here is it will be on predefined. The predefined does not work. That is the issue, because as you can see from the screen here, the UUID are not the same as the ones determined on the data sheet. Now you don't have to have them memorized, because what the app does is it actually finds it for you. So you go on, if you tap each box here, it will show up a dialog box here that you can tap on the proper numbers, and it will fill the box with you with the proper UUID that it found from the connection. If you actually look at your board here, you will see that the connection LED, the red connection LED, will light up to be red. Now, all we need to do next here is press on check mark, and then you will see a green, if you see the green bar here beside the ELEGOO BT16, that means it's successful. We can just tap on it, and as you can see from the top right, it is connected. Now, if I go back on my computer here, and just so I can share my screen, and then go back and test it with just a code that uses a lot of serial here, and send in the data. Now, if it sends in the code, it should upload, because I do not have the ELEGOO BT16 connected at the current moment. And then I take my ELEGOO BT16 module here and just connect it on the slot for the BT slot here, the Bluetooth slot. And it is not currently connected. So what I need to do now is just go back on my phone. The connection that you just saw that we did here only requires to be done once. So if I go back and open the app and I reconnect it, you can sometimes encounter an error which will show up here called the GAT status 133. That usually occurs because either there is stuff sending to a serial, so it doesn't have time connecting yet, or there's just a glitch. And the GAT status 133 just means that it tried to connect, and after a certain amount of time it failed, so it just sends an error message. So what we need to do here is you can just press the reset button. If you press the reset button of your Arduino here, you can just right away after you press the reset button, you can press on connecting, and it is connected. Now, What will happen here is that if you keep doing that several times and it seems to be losing the connection, then you should realize that there is probably something wrong with your code. And the first thing that you would check here is if you go back to your code, is if you set the baud rate of your code here correctly. So if you go on serial.begin here, remember that we changed the baud rate of the BLE module here to be 38400, which was not the case when we uploaded the code, and that's what resulted in the error. So if we go back and go and upload the code here, and I will just leave the built-in module just to show you the error that shows up if I leave it. So it's currently going to try to upload, and then it's going to stay there for a while. It's not as quick. So the minute you see that it's not quickly uploading, especially as you can see here, the sketch is only 3% of the program storage is not too big, then that means there is something wrong. Either you're going to stay this for a bit and then you will receive an error. It will say there was something wrong. Yeah, the errors could be different each time, but it will give you an error nevertheless. So what I mean by different, sometimes they tell you port is busy, sometimes they tell you make sure it's connected. So that's what we have. So you remove the DX-BT16, upload the code, uploading, completed, plug back the DX-BT16, go back on your phone, open the Serial Bluetooth terminal app, make sure you connect. And as you can see, the data is sending serially. So that means that now you have your Bluetooth connection and you can now print serially to your mobile device. This will allow you to be able to use your code or use your robot without having a physical connection to your computer. So you don't have to follow your robot around, especially if it's moving around. You don't have to keep following your robot around as your computer, especially that the provided USB cable is quite short. You can just make sure you send it through Bluetooth here and just use the proper connection and baud rate, and everything will be set to go. This is how you set up the ELEGOO BT16 Bluetooth terminal and how you're able to see any serial communication with it. See you in the next video.